let's try this again. So, as I mentioned previously, and as I put on my community page, with the SAG and WGA striking right now for very reasonable demands, such as better pay, AI not taking their jobs, and various other things that you can find through their websites, I will not be talking about the TV shows and films that I enjoy, including Legend of Korra and Avatar. But thankfully for us, we do have other content for that universe. So, I will be talking about the graphic novels, the novels, and eventually the tabletop RPG. Because I still love Avatar, I still love Legend of Korra, I'm still a Legend of Korra defender, but I'm also standing in solidarity with the WGA and SAG-AFTRA. So, for today's video, I will be talking about Ruins of the Empire, and specifically the missed opportunity when it came to Kuvira's redemption. When it was announced that we were going to be getting a graphic novel series related to Kuvira for Legend of Korra, I was pretty excited. I was hoping it would dive into a bit more about her character, we would learn a bit more about what it is that she did, see her face the consequences for her actions, which, though we saw with Ozai in The Search and The Promise, we never really saw that much in relation to just the fallout in relation to wars. So I thought that would be something we would get in Ruins of the Empire. Unfortunately, what ended up happening was the fact that this comic series was redeeming Kuvira. And for me, Kuvira and characters like Azula are characters that can never be redeemed, and people like Ozai as well, because the amount of atrocities that they committed are things that can just never be redeemable. There are ways to work towards it, like Iroh, for example, who we are actually getting a comic about. So I wonder if we're going to dive in a bit more to his past background. But Kuvira is one of those characters who, similar to Azula, is someone who I don't think should have ever gotten a redemption arc. What I feel this graphic novel series should have done is not only explore her character, so to a degree we can kind of understand why she is the way she is, but also examine the impacts of war and the aftermath of war. It was not that long ago that she was in power. So it's kind of hard to believe that things have worked out so well. And this graphic novel series shows, there are still things that are really messed up in the Earth Kingdom and Earth Empire, as she was calling it, that need addressing. And while that would have been interesting to have been addressed, and there were elements that were addressed about it, it was not done in a way that I feel makes sense in regards to Kuvira as a character and also to the world of Avatar. Kuvira is a character who needed to face consequences. This whole graphic novel series is basically us getting a little insight to the way her mind worked, to her background, to why she is the way she is, kind of letting her off the hook in some ways by having it be like, oh, she didn't know about the mind control. She was in charge. I'm sorry. I know that there is the case that sometimes the person who is in charge of dictatorships doesn't always know what all of their generals are doing. But she was the one who was sending people to these places, to these re-education camps. I just generally do not believe that she would not know what was actually happening at these camps. Because why send someone somewhere if you don't know actually where you're sending them to or what happens? Kuvira is a control freak. She needs to know and needs to do everything. She would know. It just definitely gave that sort of like idea of, oh, she wasn't actually that bad because this other general guy was brainwashing people, but she was still sending people to him. Even if she didn't know, she was still sending people to camps. She also, attempted a genocide, did the murder, all these other terrible things. Just because she didn't do one thing doesn't mean she is any less of a terrible human being. The problem is, because she helps take down this guy, and unlike at the start of the graphic novel, admits her guilt. Initially, she never really thought she did anything wrong, and it ends with her being like, hey, no, I did wrong. And because she admits that she did wrong, she's let off the hook and is put on house arrest with Su Yin, her surrogate mother, basically, and her entire family. She killed people. She did irreparable damage and harm to many people. Just because she recognizes that harm now doesn't mean that she should be let off the hook. She's not redeemed, as much as Cora says it. The fact that these characters who went through so much, Asami even mentions, Kuvira did kill her dad. She mentions it in the comics. All those things still did happen. Her helping with one thing and then admitting her guilt should not undo all of that damage. They say, hey, we know you still did terrible things, but here's a lighter sentence. It's just always kind of insulting to an audience and to a story of this magnitude as well. Because what really should have happened is Kuvira should have gone to prison. Even if Su Yin tried to be like, hey, I'm going to get you on house arrest and you can come back to your home and we'll, keep an eye on you, Kuvira should have rejected it. This is what I think would have been interesting, because Su Yin is definitely that sort of person. Su Yin is very much a control freak in general herself, which is probably where Kuvira got it from. I mean, they were very closely tied together. But anyway, have Kuvira reject it. Show that she wants to change and know she needs to face the consequences of her actions by actually receiving the consequences. Going to actual prison, facing actual prison time for what she did, would show that she is willing to change and understands what she did. If anything, alongside that, have her provide information on what she did with the Earth Empire. Have her explain the actions, maybe even have her name her second in commands and all these sort of things. So if they missed anyone, like they did with the brainwashing guy, they can go and get them. They can make sure that other people paid for their crimes with what the Earth Empire did. That would have been a way to not redeem Kuvira, because again, she did commit irredeemable acts as this dictates. She is, in a sense, the Ozai of this story, but with a little bit more Azula to her. She can't really be redeemed, but she can work towards making up for the harm that she did. And I think, if anything, that would have worked to have made her at least a morally more grey character. She's recognized the harm she's done. She is atoning for the harm that she's done. She's facing the consequences for the harm that she's done. And she wants to face the consequences. The fact that they hand wave it away with her going to house arrest in a rich family's house is terrible writing to me. And unfortunately, this is a recurring theme with the graphic novels. I don't think there is a single graphic novel where I've not had a problem with the direction of the story. And for me, I think it's a little bit of both. Graphic novels, in the case of Avatar, are a lot shorter than I think they should be. They're probably, maybe on average, 40 to 50 pages for 3 volumes. If anything, it would make sense for them to be maybe slightly longer, or at least have more than 3 volumes. Have it be in, not 3 volumes, 3 parts, sorry. Maybe have them in 4 parts. Just a way to have the story reach the, basically for the story to have the depth that it needs. Because I think the problem for me is that things are resolved a little bit too quickly for my tastes. If anything, also, don't have it be a self-contained story. For Turf Wars, for example, that is not something that can be solved in one storyline. If anything, that should have been Turf Wars and then a follow-up that's connected to it. If anything, that's actually what I thought Ruins of the Empire may have been, until we found out it was going to be a Kuvira-centric story. And it's also the issue that I have with the other Avatar graphic novels. They're all just a little bit too quickly wrapped up. And I think it doesn't work as well. With most graphic novels that we see, they are extended stories, they are continuous, they have multiple different volumes and parts to wrap up a whole story. These 3 parts, I just think, are a little bit too short for a story of such magnitude of dealing with someone who committed war crimes and attempted genocide is just not something you can deal with in 3 parts for maybe a total of 150 pages, maybe close to 200. I just don't think it'll work. If anything, give them 4 parts and also just kind of figure out the characters a little bit more. Kuvira should have gone to prison. Turf Wars should have been. Maybe I should just do a whole video about the graphic novels and my problems with them. I'm gonna actually. That's something I'm going to do. I will do a video on each of the graphic novels from Avatar and discuss the positives and the negatives related to them. For me, Ruins of the Empire, predominantly negative. There were positive elements of learning about Kuvira's backstory, learning about how she's connected to the Beifongs and Suyin specifically, also seeing a bit more of Asami and Korra's relationship, the Foro for Team Avatar, and also kind of seeing new technology that came out from the Earth Empire. It was interesting stuff, it just was not brought together well enough. Also, the Prince Wu thing, and just the Earth Empire, or Earth Kingdom, I guess now, Earth Kingdom's voting democracy thing was weird. It was just like, it was a strange direction. Like, I feel that shouldn't have been in Ruins of the Empire, if I'm honest. They should have just stuck with the general and trying to get him out of power, and then maybe have the Earth Kingdom democracy element for another series. Because it was also then a lot too much, which then meant some things didn't get the focus they needed, and other things got more focus than they probably should have. I've gone off topic now. Well, not off topic, I've just gone on a tangent. But yes, Kuvira's story had potential. The problem is, the graphic novels did not meet it, or at least for me. But what about you guys? Did you enjoy Ruins of the Empire? Did you not enjoy it? What are your thoughts of it in general? And what graphic novel would you like me to talk about in relation to Legend of Korra and Avatar: The Last Airbender? And is there actually any graphic novels or manga that you would like me to talk about in future? Because with the strikes going on, I'm going to be finding new content to talk about. So hit me up in the comments with your thoughts and ideas for manga and graphic novels. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.